Donald Trump is having a disastrous Monday as he returns to Washington, D.C. He's trying to interfere with the New York City mayoral race, which in normal times, what he said this morning would be an impeachable offense. He wants to also change the reporting requirements of corporations so they will no longer have to report on a quarterly basis. He's attacked the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He's posted random photos of his face as the American flag. And he sent messages out to his supporters asking if they're feeling spontaneous today because he really needs $19 from each of his supporters right now. He says because the midterms are approaching and he needs a war chest. So he says, give him $19. Let's go through what he's saying this morning. Donald Trump posted the following. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has endorsed the little communist Zoran Mamdani running for mayor of New York. This is a rather shocking development and a very bad one for New York City. How can such a thing happen? Washington will be watching the situation very closely. No reason to be sending good money after bad. President DJT, as I said, right there, impeachable offense, probably criminal as well, in my opinion, interfering with the New York City mayoral race, saying that Washington, D.C., the federal government, will not be giving New York City any funds if they elect Zoran Mamdani as the mayor. Again, utterly despicable, but states' rights, right? Local governments, right? No, what MAGA Republicans always wanted was a fascist authoritarian maniac like a Kim Jong-un, and they got one in Donald Trump. By the way, I think it was a very strong move for Governor Kathy Hochul to make that endorsement, if I do say so myself. Then Donald Trump says that he wants to change corporate reporting requirements so that America could look more like China, he says. He goes, subject to SEC approval, companies and corporations should no longer be forced to report, and he puts that in quotes, on a quarterly basis. Quarterly reporting, but rather to report on a 6-month basis. This will save money and allow managers to focus on properly running their companies. Did you ever hear the statement that China has a 50 to 100 year view on management of a company, whereas we run our companies on a quarterly basis? Not good, exclamation point. Just assuming what you say is accurate. Even though you're misunderstanding what a 50 to 100 year view is, just means they have a long-term perspective on things. You're saying you want America to look more like China? That's what you're posting every day? I mean, you also are using the federal government to seize control over American corporations, but you call Mamdani the little communist because he's talked about helping people with bus rides and have cheaper groceries? Explain that one to me right there. Oh, maybe you're the little communist in the White House right now, Donald. That's what actually seems to be the case. Then Donald Trump says, the big trade meeting in Europe between the United States of America and China has gone very well. It will be concluding shortly. A deal was also reached on a certain company that young people in our country very much wanted to save. They will be very happy. I will be speaking to President Xi on Friday. The relationship remains a very strong one. President DJT. The relationship remains very strong. How many times will you go about doing this and saying that you're holding these meetings and then it's ultra successful and then nothing happens? Well, I should actually say something does happen. China has moved its trading relationships outside of the U.S. Why don't you ask our soybean farmers, Donald, how they're doing, as China has not ordered basically a single American cargo ship to bring our soybeans this season to China, and they're getting it all from Brazil and elsewhere. So ask our farmers, how are these trade talks going with China? And on numerous other items as well, China's not buying from America, and that's severely hurt American corporations. And the tariffs are significantly hurting American corporations as well. But China's economy is doing pretty good, as American people are struggling right now. And then the certain company that young people like. Are you talking about TikTok, Donald? So what was the deal with TikTok? I'd like to know. Well, here's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said this morning. A breakthrough on the TikTok deal. There's a framework, right? It's always a framework with these people. It's never the deal. We have a framework to discuss, a framework to discuss, a framework. And then, but Bessent goes, we're not going to talk about the commercial terms of the deal. It's between two private parties, but the commercial terms have been agreed upon. You, the government, what do you mean you're not going to talk about the commercial terms? The government that's supposed to represent the people who are suffering right now because inflation is surging, groceries are higher, all prices across the board are higher, jobs are harder to fill right now, biggest jobless claims in a long time in the past week, healthcare costs skyrocketing, education not accessible, student loan debt record highs. I think this is our government. It's not your White House, it's the people's house. We're not going to discuss the terms between private parties. Okay, we're not going to discuss anything because it's all freaking made up with all of you people. Then Donald Trump attacks the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Too late, must cut interest rates now and bigger than he had in mind. Housing will soar. DJT, again, trying to pressure the Fed to do whatever Donald Trump wants. And then Donald Trump posts his face as the American flag and says, the federal government under my auspices as President of the United States has stepped into the complete criminal mess that was Washington, D.C. I mean, I've seen that you put National Guards people in the Washington Mall. I saw them checking out the Smithsonian museums. You don't even put them into the dangerous areas that has higher crime in Washington, D.C., despite Washington, D.C. having a lower crime rate now than it did in 30 years. Why wouldn't you just invest in law enforcement? Why the performative act of having the National Guard? Oh, because you want military troops walking in the street. When you listen to all of the governors across the country, all of the governors say, look, if the federal government wants to help with crime, great. Invest in the FBI. Oh, wait, you're defunding the FBI. Invest in the ATF. Oh, wait, you're defunding the ATF. Invest in partnerships between local, state law enforcement and the feds. Oh, you're defunding those programs. I mean, Trump has defunded the police across the board. He has objective data. He's defunded the police and then wants to replace them with the National Guard, who aren't trained as a domestic police force because he wants them walking around and he wants ICE in their masks, kidnapping people. That's what they want. This was that email that I mentioned earlier when Donald Trump writes, Ben, you feeling spontaneous? It's Donald J. Trump. I've got 3 very important reasons why I need $19 now. Literally says that. I've got 3 very important reasons why I need $19 now. The midterms are rapidly approaching, and I need your help to build a massive war chest to protect our majorities. We're getting more footage of Donald Trump when he left to go to Washington, D.C. when he was in New Jersey. Donald Trump was asked by a reporter, do you think Maduro is not telling the truth when he said that it was a fisherman's boat when the United States military killed 12 people on a boat? And Donald Trump claims, give me a break. You could see it. You saw the bags of white everything. Now, this is where it appears that Donald Trump now is clear. If it wasn't obvious before that he was lying, it should be clear now. What do you mean it was like an infrared image? You can't see. That's what you believe the white everywhere is the white on that infrared image? Even if there was Tren de Aragua on there and it was cocaine, which you claim, how do you know there wasn't any people being trafficked on there? Now you've killed innocent people. So American military, just judge, jury, executioner, just kills people if it believes there's cocaine. If they see white, that's the standard. Here, listen to what Trump says. Here, play this.
Just one more on Venezuela. The president of Venezuela will be strike on the boat illegal. Are you concerned that Maduro might escalate something?
No, what's illegal are the drugs that were on the boat and the drugs that are being sent into our country. And the fact that 300 million people died last year from drugs, that's what's illegal.
Do you think he's not telling the truth when he said it was a fisherman's boat? Do you think that he's...
Oh, you could see it. You saw the bags of white everything right through the bags. It's nonsense. So we knew it before they even left. We knew it before they even left. We knew exactly where it came from, where the drugs came from, and where it was heading. And the problem is nobody's getting on boats anymore, so maybe that's a good problem.
Do you expect NATO to issue sanctions against Russia as you had in the show over the weekend?
Well, they're not doing the job.
And then you had on right-wing media, they brought on MAGA Republican Congress members like this guy, Representative Michael Rowley, who says, the Democratic Party, they're the ones using this rhetoric, calling Trump a Nazi and calling Republicans Nazis. J.D. Vance and RFK Jr. were the 2 most prominent political leaders who called Donald Trump a Nazi and said that he was like Hitler. J.D. Vance and RFK Jr. And by the way, Donald Trump was celebrating the attempted murder of Nancy Pelosi's husband. You've got Donald Trump reposting former President Biden while he was in office, being gagged and bound in rope. Donald Trump reposted that. And of course, the hateful rhetoric being spewed by Trump and Republican leaders on a daily basis. But this is what MAGA Republican Representative Michael Rowley is going with right now. Here, play this clip.
You feel this is going to bring us together? Because it's uncertain when you look at some of this reaction from some of these deep liberals.
Well, Anna and I have been talking, and I'm going to put focus on the opposition, the Democratic Party. You can't use this rhetoric about us all day long, where you call us Nazis, you call us monsters, you call us all these different words that are just horrific, and they drive people to insanity. There is not one person in the Republican Party that is in Congress right now that hasn't had a death threat. I've had a dozen this year. Your rhetoric needs to be toned down. You need to lower the temperature. When Joe Biden was in office, we listened, we watched, and we spoke, but we spoke fluently, and we didn't speak with this hate, and we didn't speak with these words that were drawing people to take action against us. You tried to kill our president twice. You actually killed Charlie. Enough is enough. Stop the shenanigans and lower this rhetoric to a normal place where we can all exist together.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable how, they've politicized and weaponized politics. I mean, it's incredible.
And finally, Donald Trump from that airport where he was speaking with the press regarding sanctions on Russia. I did a whole video on this morning. Donald Trump's like, I'll do sanctions, but Europe needs to step up its sanctions too. Europe is stepping up its sanctions. Europe wants to step up its sanctions. And then Donald Trump's pretext to not do sanctions on Russia is to blame Europe when the biggest buyer of oil in Europe is Hungary and Slovakia. And just 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump sent a letter telling Viktor Orban of Hungary that it upsets Donald Trump that Ukraine was striking the Russian oil depots that Hungary uses to get its oil. Trump endorsed Hungary getting oil from Putin. Trump's been the one removing the sanctions, not enforcing sanctions, bringing in eggs from Russia. Anyway, here's what Trump says. Let's play it.
Do you expect NATO to introduce sanctions against Russia as you asked them to do it?
Well, they're not doing the job. NATO has to get together. Europe has to get together and do it. Look, they're my friends, but they're buying oil from Russia. So we can't be expected to be the only ones that are, full bore. But Europe is buying oil from Russia. I don't want them to buy oil. And the sanctions that they're putting on are not tough enough. And I'm willing to do sanctions, but they're going to have to toughen up their sanctions commensurate with what I'm doing.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe.